My overall impression of the draft Harper Review report is that it presents a meaningful suite of competition policy proposals. There were over 50 recommendations. I think that overall the provisions are not radical, though I think that depends on your perspective. Obviously, if you're a taxi driver, some of the proposals in respect to the taxi industry may seem radical to you. True to its nickname as the Root and Branch report, the panel has set out a number of competition law principles. Those principles are designed to remind the Australian government of the importance and benefits of competition policy to promoting the interest of the Australian consumer or the Australians at large. The panel has looked at reforms in a number of specific industries. Some of these have been looked at before, such as taxis, pharmacies, and the issue of government competitive neutrality. They've also looked at some of new industries, including the human services industries. I expect that some of these reforms will be quite controversial and that we will see the politics sort of play out over the next few months or once the final report is released before we see what, if any, changes are actually implemented in some of those areas.
So Patrick, what are likely to be the most controversial areas and generate additional submissions prior to the final report?
Obviously, I think some of the areas where there's sort of market sector reform will generate some additional comment. These could include areas such as pharmacy and taxi reform. In terms of the sort of law, I think probably the area where we'll see most comments is in the misuse of market power provisions. This generated a lot of heat and light before the draft report. In essence, the panel has accepted the ACCC's recommendation that there be both a purpose and effect test to the misuse of market power provisions. The panel has decided that there is at least some chance of overreach given that framework and has suggested what would be called a sort of a business rationale defense. I think this will be quite controversial, and I understand some parties have already indicated that they will be making additional submissions on this particular misuse of market power provision.